Okay, think I'm all set to go here. Trying this setup. I think it's good. We will see. Turn the radio down, turn the air conditioner down, put my seatbelt on so the car won't nag me. Good, I think I'm ready to roll. So I'm just gonna do a basic driving around yakking video, and we'll see where the road takes us today. I don't really have a plan. I've got like a 3 or 4 hour window here, probably 4 hours. The dogs are fed, they've been outside. Everybody's fed. There went Tommy. So anyway, everybody's fed and settled in for the day. They'll sleep most of the day probably because it's hot and they don't usually spend that much time outside when it's like this. So anyhow, we're gonna go see what we can see today. I'm really liking this little DJI Osmo 3 pocket camera, Pocket 3, whatever it is. It's really working well for this. It's working so well for this that I don't even bother messing with my big Sony anymore. I don't think it's necessary to drag that big old beast out. So I'm debating where I should go today. I think I'm going to run over to Lawton and hit the Starbucks over there and then maybe run up onto Mount Scott. Haven't done that in a long time. In fact, the picture of me on my other channel, on my real life channel, the profile picture was taken on Mount Scott several years ago. Sorry about the allergies, guys. This is just reality with me. So I got some good news about the Jeep batteries. I think the last time we talked, or maybe even this might have happened in between the last video and today. So what happened, I'll just recap. Sorry. Man, something is really making me allergic today. So anyway, a week ago, Saturday, I put the Jeep up and I did not put it in park for some stupid reason. I was being distracted. And it sat in drive gear, but it was off. It was parked under the carport. But it sat there all night. And the next morning when I got up, the batteries were dead as a doornail. So I jumped them with the truck. And I took it out and I drove it every day for about an hour up and down the highway to charge the batteries up with the alternator. And then I did some studying about that because I have this icon on the dash that still hasn't gone off, but it says that my stop-start function is unavailable. For those of you who don't have a modern car with stop-start function, I turn it off anyway. I think it's stupid. Every time you pull up to a stoplight or a stop sign, if you have your stop-start function working, it will turn your car off and then turn it back on. It's just the dumbest thing ever. You know, I guess they think they're saving fuel, maybe, but they're expending battery. In fact, that's why this vehicle has 2 separate batteries in it, is because of that particular stupid feature that very few people like, as far as I can tell. So it would, just to operate that feature, and this, I got this from a 35-year mechanic who looked at it for me a couple days ago. Having it running with that feature requires an auxiliary battery just to stop, start this dang thing over and over again 100 times as you drive through city traffic or whatever. I mean, it's just ludicrous. It's really dumb. So I ended up buying a new battery charger. I had a battery charger for AGM batteries that Bill had bought, you know, sometime in the past. But it was evidently notorious, this particular brand and model, and I'll look it up and put it in the deal here so you don't buy one of these, is notorious for not charging batteries fully. And then for stopping working, you know, just not working at all. So just what you want in a battery charger, right? And that's one of these big units. It's a big box unit, and it's got, you know, it looks like a nice charger, but it's made for AGM and different kinds of batteries. But that was the only charger I had for an AGM battery, and that's what both of these are. And those are evidently glass matte batteries, something glass matte batteries. And they're, according to this mechanic I talked to, they are intended to be able to be fully drained of a charge and then to be charged back up so it doesn't destroy the battery like it might a lead battery or whatever. So anyway, I tried that charger and I still had the icon on the dashboard. So and I had it tested at AutoZone. I had them test it, and they said the batteries checked out fine. So I went ahead, got the new charger, and then put a full charge on it, and this new charger seems to be working great. God, what's with these people wanting to drive down the middle of the road instead of staying on their side? So anyway, it did charge it up, and everything looked good. So I went out and started it up after it went through the sleep cycle, because these modern vehicles have a sleep cycle they have to go through to reset the computers and blah, blah, blah. So it's 4 to 8 hours parked out in park with the doors locked, off with the doors locked. That's what the sleep cycle requires, and then time. Sure enough, I went out the next morning, started it up, and this damn icon on the dashboard is there again. The stop-start function is unavailable. So at this point, I'm getting kind of irritated by this, because this has been going on for a week now. And I'm just trying to make sure that my batteries are okay. I don't care that the stop-start function is disabled. I prefer it to be disabled, and if it wasn't disabling itself, I would turn it off, because there's a button on the dash where I can do that. And I would do that. I was concerned about the health of the batteries. Are my batteries trashed or not? And from some of the stuff I was seeing on the internet, when I Googled this and talked to AI about it, I wasn't getting a clear idea of whether or not the battery was like foobarred, or the batteries. What I was suspecting was going on, just based on what I had kind of learned off of the internet. Well, that was a good stop. Well, at least he stopped. He stopped in the middle of the intersection, but at least he stopped. Anyway, what I learned, I thought, was that if the icon coming back on is persistent, it might mean that your auxiliary battery is damaged and that it needs to be replaced. And if you let it go, then it will eventually drag down your main battery. I'm like, okay. So I need to find out for sure how these batteries are. After doing all this, charging them fully and everything, and then this stupid icon keeps coming on. So I took it down this time to O'Reilly's. And the guy working there is like a 35-year mechanic. Kind of a gruff, no-nonsense kind of guy. And so I asked him if he would check my batteries for me. And he's like, yeah, we'll do that. So he went and got 1 meter. And then he had to go back in and get tools because they're under the seat. And I had a socket set with me, but they were imperial, not metric. So I felt kind of stupid about that. I thought, oh, I'll save him some trouble and throw this in there. But I didn't look to see whether they were imperial or metric. They were imperial. So they did nothing for us because it's all metric on a Jeep, you know. So, so he had to go back in and get a tool. So he did that, and he came out and he disconnected the batteries from each other, which you have to do to check individually. You know, you have to do that to check them, which they didn't do at AutoZone. The girl that came out and checked them didn't seem to be concerned about that. I was, but at the same time, I thought, well, I'm not going to give her a bunch of trouble about it because maybe she knows what she's doing. So anyway, the guy at O'Reilly's unhooked them like you're supposed to, and he tested both batteries, and both of them tested fine. And he explained to me that AGM batteries are designed, the whole purpose of an AGM battery is that it can be completely discharged without destroying the battery itself, that it should go ahead and take a recharge and you should be fine. That's why they were invented. I didn't know that. AI didn't tell me that, so this mechanic guy told me that. So I kind of quizzed him about this annoying dash icon, and he said, well, he said, probably the way these new vehicles are, that has to be reset, you know, by a mechanic. I said, oh, so I can probably get that done at the dealership or whatever. And he said, yeah. And he said, if you're under warranty, it would be great. If you're not, you know, it's not going to hurt anything coming on. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your battery. It's just this light has to eventually be reset by the computer in the Jeep. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I thought, okay, well, good. So my batteries are good. So I went ahead and went home, and then I got to looking on the internet, again, asking AI to clarify this for me, and then adding what the mechanic had told me and all of that. And what it said was, and I'm testing this theory because I've got nothing to lose by testing the theory. So the general consensus between the mechanic guy who knows what he's talking about and AI is that this light being on is not a problem. That's the only thing it means, is that the stop-start function is disabled. And since I disable it anyway, I prefer it to be off. It's just kind of, you know, a moot point right now. AI did say that after somewhere between 10 and 40 sleep cycles, that the computer might go ahead and clear that message anyway. And if it doesn't, there's no harm in it, because that's all it means. It's just disabled, which I would do anyway manually. So, I mean, it's a moot point, really. But what I was able to do is I was able to confirm that each of the batteries are fine, that there's no damage to either one of them. And that was my main deal. Because, I mean, I don't know why, but for some reason I seem to have to learn everything the hard way, everything, you know. It's not like I could have sat down and read the manual on this Jeep, which I have not done, even though I have it. I mean, I've looked up certain things as needed, but, you know, like where the hell did they hide this button, or where did they hide that, you know. But as far as all this stuff with the dual batteries and all that, which having two batteries in a vehicle isn't a new concept to me. I've been driving diesels for years, and diesels have two batteries, and almost always have, as far as I know. I mean, even that old Ford I had, the 96, had dual batteries in it. So, but this is a different kind of dual battery setup. It's not two regular batteries. It's a large battery and then a small auxiliary battery. So different function, different battery types, just a different thing altogether. So I had to learn a lot about it. I had a little bit of a learning curve with this. And I guess it's good to know these things, you know. Seems like it is. Better to know them than to be guessing at it and getting it wrong. So anyway, one of the big reasons I bought this Jeep was because I don't want to have to worry about a vehicle being unreliable or having to work on it myself or any of that business anymore after dealing with the old Jeep. But there are going to be times when stuff happens with this that I need to learn about it anyway. And that was one of those things I needed to learn, apparently. Apparently. guess I could kind of try to drive the speed limit or close to it anyway. I'm going to stay under it a little bit. There we go. So it feels good to get out and just run a little bit. I have been really working hard on all this YouTube stuff. So instead of just having 2 channels, now I've got 4 separate channels. Because this is what I have learned about YouTube. Talk about learning stuff week, I guess. With YouTube, if you have multiple types of content on one channel, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and you're making it harder for YouTube to promote your videos because they don't know who to send them to. Like on my other channel, my real life channel, all of my videos are similar. They're talking head. You know, I walk and talk and sit and talk, and I talk about different subjects, that kind of thing. On this channel, I now have it segregated to where it's only driving videos, or if there's any kind of a fix-it video, it has to do with fixing the red truck, because that's usually what I was dealing with on the road, which is relevant to the channel. So I've taken out all of my short videos, and I've taken out all of my project videos, and I've given them their own channels to be on. So I've got a real life, which is my talking vlog channel. I've got this channel, Woman at the Wheel, which is my road video channel. I've got Sue Shorts, which is my short video channel. And then I've got Solo Shenanigans, which is my project channel. And amazingly enough, everything is now like working better. Like I'm getting more views on things. So I think there's actually a chance that sometime in the future I could get even this channel monetized. I mean, I've got a lot of videos up here. Even after stripping out all of the extraneous type videos, I've still got a couple hundred videos on this channel up, you know, that have been up for years. I got to looking back through some of my first videos, and some of them were pretty bad, terrible quality. Just, I didn't know what I was doing, but you can kind of see the progression on how things changed over the years. It's kind of interesting to me. I mean, probably to everybody else, they're going, God, that's an awful video. But to me, I'm thinking, hey, that's kind of interesting that I didn't know anything about making videos whatsoever when I started doing this. Nothing. It just was kind of an idea that got hatched. Actually, I think I was sitting around talking to my brother Wes when I was up there visiting one time. And he was talking about his YouTube channels or his YouTube channel at the time. I think he had one, now he's got 2. But he was talking about that, and I thought, you know, I could probably do something like that. And so I just kind of started working on it, experimenting with it, not really expecting it to go anywhere. But as it turns out, this was the learning ground for what I'm doing now with all my channels. So it's kind of fun. And the funnest part of it all is now that a real life is actually monetized, and I had another good video, I'm actually going to get a paycheck at the end of this month, I think, from YouTube. So that's a whole new development. And man, it's just, it kind of inspires me to keep going, you know, because that was kind of the whole point of that channel. This channel I do for fun, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't monetize it in a heartbeat if I started, you know, if I got to where I qualified for it. Oh, heck yeah. But it's interesting the way YouTube works as far as the mysterious algorithm that everybody's always talking about. I don't know a lot about it, and I don't think anybody really does. But what I do know is that if you throw too many different kinds of videos onto one channel, it just confuses it. I mean, that's the bottom line. So if you got a channel that was doing pretty good, and then all of a sudden it just dropped off, look at where it dropped off at and look at what kind of videos you were putting up before and after it dropped off. Because you might find out that it wasn't like YouTube being vindictive at all. It was the algorithm got confused because it didn't know what to do with type B videos when you were used to making type A videos, and that's what it was used to seeing from your channel. So, you know, just food for thought if you're struggling with a channel, because that seems to be the big problem most people have with their channels. And that's the biggest problem I think that I had with this channel. So I just kept putting different kinds of videos up on here, not realizing that I was confusing the algorithm and shooting myself in the foot. So yeah. So now all that's sorted out, and we'll see how it goes. This is kind of a big experiment to see if I can redeem this channel, because I've had this channel up for, what, 4 years, I think? Maybe pushing 5 years now. It's been up for a long time, and it's never taken off. It's never gone anywhere. And at first, you know, for the first 2 or 3 years, I know why it didn't, because my video quality sucked and I wasn't good at doing videos. Hopefully I've improved that over the years, and I'm hoping that my videos are more watch-worthy these days. And another thing about this channel as opposed to my other channel, my real life channel, I mean, the other two channels are pretty specific, you know, with the shorts and then the project videos. And some of those project videos are long. Some of them are, you know, a couple hours long. That's the way it is here on Woman at the Wheel. A lot of my videos are really long on this channel. And, you know, that's dependent on the length of the trip I'm taking, or, you know, how much I videoed during any given trip or whatever. And then how much of that I actually, you know, saved as viable footage and posted up. But on a real life, my videos are usually somewhere around, you know, 15 minutes or less, in that ballpark. A couple run a little longer, but for the most part, they're not super long videos. But this is a long video format channel, and the project channel's the same. So, I mean, there are different ways to look at your groupings too. You might be able to do like I've done with the shorts. My short videos are about all different kinds of stuff, but they have in common they're all short videos. Some of them are actually shorts, you know, like the requirements to be a technical short on YouTube, but some of them are just very short videos. So they all fit within that theme, even though the subjects vary wildly. But you know, you can't get it down to the microcosm and have 100 different channels for stuff. I guess you could, but I mean, you'd spend all your time just trying to maintain 100 different channels instead of making videos and doing it. So 4 is my limit. 4 channels is where I'm at. I think that covers every niche that I operate in, and I think that's the key, maybe, to having a good relationship with YouTube. And maybe making it easier, sorry, maybe making it easier for the algorithm to find you and to know what to do with your videos. Anyway, there is a storm front blowing through today, and it's been giving me a headache for 2 days. So it's being a little rough on me. That and then bad allergies on top of it. So I'm having all kinds of fun. But I didn't just feel like sitting in the house and pouting about it, so I thought I'd get out and do something. And voila, here we are. Traveling the Great Plains with a video camera and a song in my heart. Yeah. People do not like slowing down here. They just don't. It's like, I'm too busy to slow down. I don't care what the speed limit is. People are impatient. Have you noticed that? I guess people have always been impatient, but I mean, these days people are seriously, they have no patience for anything or anybody, you know? It's like, they'll go right over the top of you, literally. And nowhere is that more evident than on the highway. So I'm probably doing this all wrong, thinking about going to Mount Scott via Starbucks. But I really want a cup of coffee for the trip. And I don't want to wait until I'm done and backtrack, so I guess I'll do that first anyway, even though I have to go clear to the other side of Lawton. I wish they would put a Starbucks on the east side of Lawton, somewhere near I-44, but no, it's clear across freaking town. It's annoyingly far to get to it. And you have to suffer through all the, you know, city traffic to get there. I think it might be worth it though, so I'm gonna do it that way. It's not like I got anything else that I need to do today, really. I made my trip early to Walmart and spent $200 on freaking cat food, cat litter, canned cat food, dried cat food. Of course, I stocked up. I mean, I didn't just get a week's worth. I got at least a month worth, I hope. But I did get myself some heavy cream for my coffee. And I have to admit it, I did get some Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Man, when it's 100 and something degrees in the evening, I like to have a little bit of ice cream. Even though I kind of swore off ice cream a while back because I was eating it every day and, you know, in the winter even, which is unnecessary. But I decided a couple of things. Haagen-Dazs is the only ice cream I can get in this area that's real ice cream. Although I've been told by my sister in Colorado that Tillamook also makes real ice cream without all the additive junk in it. But they don't have that here. I can't get it here. So Haagen-Dazs it is. And the good thing about Haagen-Dazs is it's in small cartons, so I can, you know, basically have half a carton of it for each sitting or each day that I want to eat ice cream. I can just eat half of it, you know. It's not like I have to scoop it out anymore because there's nobody here who's going to complain about me eating it out of the carton, you know. Bill wouldn't have anyway. He would have thought it was funny. But Man, I don't know what it is that I'm allergic to today, but I'm really allergic to it. Really, really allergic. So anyway, I got myself some Haagen-Dazs. We've got probably another couple of weeks of hot weather. So once the hot weather is past, I'll go back to my no ice cream stance. But I figure as long as it's hot enough for me to think that the chickens probably need a piece of watermelon to help them cool down and stay hydrated, it's probably not a bad idea to have something cold for me too. So I can find 1,000 ways to justify ice cream, I'll tell you. 1,000 or more. So anyway, I got to thinking about this. You know, I've been so focused for so long on losing weight that evidently, because of the snafu I had with the semaglutide and all that, I don't know how much I talked about that on this channel, but I was getting it from a place that was freezing it, and evidently freezing it degrades it, makes it less potent. And so I changed labs, and now I'm getting the real thing at full strength. But apparently my body wants to be somewhere around 160-ish pounds. And I'm okay with that. That's not a bad weight for me. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that I couldn't stay at 150, but being realistic about it, I'm a tall girl, you know. And I think as you get older, you know, your body composition changes. I'm not quite as lean as I once was. And I've never been like super muscular, but, you know. Funny thing is now I think I'm more muscular than I was earlier in my life because I do a lot of stuff now to hang on to my muscle mass. It's kind of weird, kind of strange. So, I don't know. I'm just trying not to stress out over stuff that I can't control to the nth degree. That looks like a little racer. Mercy. This weather's trying to knock me out, is what's happening. It's a low pressure front coming in. These are the ones that always give me the headaches. It's not like excruciating headaches, it's like low-grade, annoying headaches. Once in a while they get bad enough that I just dose myself up with Tylenol and go to bed, but this isn't one of those. This is just a background, annoying, nagging little headache. It's all sinuses, sinus pressure. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that can be done about it. You know, you just kind of have to live through it. I've tried everything. I've tried different medications. I've tried the earplugs that are supposed to help, and they kind of do, but then you're walking around all day and you can't hear anything because you got these earplugs in that are trying to keep the pressure constant in your eardrums, I guess, to prevent the fluctuations that cause the pain. But it's kind of a weird situation. And then there are people who don't really know it. I mean, they really don't understand sinus headaches to start with. The actual mechanism of them isn't really well understood, apparently. I mean, I can guess about it based on my experience with them, but I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so, you know. Not a scientist, not a biologist or a physicist or any of that. It might take quantum physics to figure that out. You know, why do sinus headaches happen? Why are they so bloody annoying? That kind of thing. So yeah. time I come through here, I see this little tobacco shop on the right. We used to go there quite a bit. I haven't been in there in 11 years. Quitting smoking was the best thing I ever did, I think. And I did it grudgingly because Bill kind of made me do it. It's one of the nicest things probably he ever did for me, actually. What he did was he told me, he said, because he was trying to quit smoking too, and I was talking about quitting smoking, but I never would actually quit. And he said, you know, he said, if you don't quit smoking, I'm going to die from it. I was like, well, crap, now I got to quit smoking. And I did. Yeah, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Actually, it was pretty easy. What was harder was the idea of making up my mind to quit smoking. That was the hard part. You know, it was the mental part. You know, I had the mentality that, oh, these little ciggies are my friends, and what would I do if I didn't have them to keep me company? I mean, you know, typical stupid addictive thinking. And then once he said what he said about it was going to kill him if I didn't quit, well, then that kind of, I thought, I have to choose here. Who do I want, Bill, or do I want my little ciggy friends? And ciggy friends went in the trash real quick. When you look at it that way, you know, there was no contest. No contest at all. Make sure my radio's turned down enough. I don't know why I like having the radio on even when I'm videoing, but I do for some reason. But I got to keep it low. I got to remember to keep it low enough so I don't get a copyright strike on me from having, you know, copyrighted music running in the background. That'll get you. That'll do it. Didn't like a lot of stoplights. So I'm averaging 24 miles to the gallon in this Jeep. Is a little more, I think, than what it advertised. But I haven't been running 75 miles an hour either. So I've driven it probably about 1,000 miles so far since I got it. And I'm super happy with it, even with the irritation with the battery situation, because that was my fault. That wasn't any reflection on the Jeep. None at all, actually. It was stupid user error is what that was. Inattention to detail, which is so annoying to me because I'm one of those cocky people that prides myself on my attention to detail, but at the same time, sometimes I'm dumb as a box of rocks, you know? I do the dumbest stuff. My dad said something to me when I did something really, really stupid when I was a kid. And it kind of stuck with me, and it probably wasn't the nicest thing he could have said, but it was pretty honest, I thought. He said, I don't know how somebody so smart can be so damn stupid. I thought, yeah, me either. Not that I'm, you know, genius level or anything, but I'm not a typically stupid person. But man, I have done some stupid stuff in my time. And sometimes you just gotta own it. You know what I mean? It stings, it's painful, but sometimes you just gotta own it. Come on, stoplight. Stoplights make me yawn too. I hate this when trying to do a video. I do this all the time when I'm driving. You know, it gets to be this time of day and I just start yawning, and that's all there is to it. And I always think when I'm doing this, when I'm videoing, I'm thinking these people are going to be watching this video, they're going to see me yawn, then they're going to yawn, then they're going to think they're bored because I'm boring, because I'm so boring I'm yawning at my own. I'm yawning myself. That's one of my big fears doing these videos. But you know, sometimes you just got to face your fears and do it anyway. So that's what I'm doing. I'm facing my fears and doing it anyway. People are weird, aren't we? I mean, the things we think, you know. And of course, I don't know how anybody else thinks, but that's one of the weird things about being human. We think the way we think, and we kind of tend to think generally that other people think the way we think, but there's no way to actually prove that, and a lot of times it's just not even remotely true. You know, there's that old individual thing that gets in the way of that. People all got their own ways of doing stuff, thinking included. I guess I was about due for a trip to Lawton anyway. Lawton is not my favorite town in this region, but there's something about it too that, you know, it's a down-to-earth place, pretty earthy. It's probably one of the earthiest towns around in a lot of ways. And some people hate Lawton. Some people are afraid of Lawton. I'm not afraid of it. I mean, I've been through here all hours of the day and night, and I've never had any trouble, but I don't give anybody any chance to do mischief on me either. I'm pretty alert to stuff, you know. I try and keep an eye out for what's going on around me and just be a little bit aware, you know. Aware of the surroundings, aware of anything that seems hinky. And that's the old cop in me, I'm sure, you know. So one of the things you learn as a cop is just to kind of, almost on a subconscious level, you don't have to like really intently study everything, but you learn to be, just to notice stuff that's off. And I don't know how else to explain it. But anybody who's been a cop for any length of time will know it just becomes a part of your nature, part of your makeup, you know. That low-level awareness in the background that's running all the time. This is not to say that I don't miss some obvious things, because I've been known to, you know. For a trained observer, I've missed a few things I probably shouldn't have missed, if I'm being honest. I feel sorry for those guys. That sucks trying to mow when it's dry like this. You just get dusted, you know. You go home and you got dust everywhere. Get saturated in it. Ah, fuel's cheap here. Well, relatively speaking. Fuel's not cheap anywhere right now. I'll be glad when they're done with this whole episode overseas and things get back to normal. I've probably alluded to that before. It's annoying, that it's inconveniencing us in such a fashion. But if they can cure the problem, or at least cure it enough to where we don't have to worry about this stuff repeating itself in another 20 or 30 years over yonder, then that'd be a good thing. So, and it's funny because I just made a video about not talking politics on my other channel. I do venture into that territory here a little bit, but I don't just go all in on political discussions, because mostly I don't feel like having to try and explain myself to people. I mean, I think the things I think, and that's how it is. And I look at the world in the way that I look at the world. And that's one of those areas, one of the arenas is, what we're doing in Iran right now. I'm for it, because those are some bad people that have been in control over there for the past 50 years, and they've been torturing the Persian people. They've overrun them and subjugated them. They've done some really, really heinous things to them, and they would do the same to anybody. I mean, this is their whole thing in life, is how can they subjugate everybody around them and bend them to their will, and that's pretty evil, I would say. So I'm all for cleaning that problem up, since nobody else has addressed it in all these years, and it's just gotten exponentially worse, But I'll be glad when they get it done too. It's on the politics thing. The reason I don't go overboard with it and don't go whole hog into it is because politics has become so polarized that you can't even discuss literally why you don't want to talk about politics without some people going all apeshit and jumping all over you with both feet and calling you a coward because you don't want to talk about politics. And that's the problem, Used to be, once upon a time, before, hateful leftists took over the universe and pushed all this polarization, because that's what happened. Before that happened, in America anyway, we pretty much agreed to disagree. There have always been people who have been radical on both ends of the spectrum, and everybody pretty much knows that. I mean, it's logical. People don't all look at things the same way. But there was a time in this country when you could express an opinion and somebody would say, oh, well, I totally disagree with that, but I see where you're coming from. And that would be the end of it. We didn't have to get into fist fights over it. You know what I mean? We didn't have to belittle each other and start calling names and then, of course, woke cancel culture came along, and it just, it's like communism on steroids, and people fell for it. They bit, It's like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that to people. Yeah, because communism's a great thing. Well, that's how you usher communism into a society. You start creating imaginary reasons to hate other people, and you start dividing people into all these little fractured sects, and you get them all at each other's throat, and then you no longer have national unity or the pride that we used to feel in just being American, patriotism. And they demonize patriotism, and then next thing you know, whoop, look at that, communists are getting elected in Detroit, of all places. Seattle, LA. And it's the sad truth about communism is, yeah, you can vote them into office, but you're going to have to take them out physically, and it's going to be warfare, That's what it will ultimately take to get rid of them if they get embedded in our country like that. And unfortunately, history seems to repeat itself when people are ignorant about history to begin with. And that's the situation we've got now. It's very unfortunate. And it's a dangerous time. I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
Thank you, Wichita Mountains. Starbucks. How can I help you today?
Hi, can I get a venti decaf mocha, please? Hot.
You said venti what? I'm so sorry.
Decaf mocha.
Decaf mocha. Was that hot or iced?
Hot.
Yes, ma'am. Anything else for you today?
No, that'll do it.
Perfect. It's going to be $6.81 for you today.
Thank you. All right, so this is like the last place in the world you want to be discussing politics. Starbucks. You know what I mean? Get through their skinny little drive-through here.
All right, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Have a good one. All right. I need to just sit here for a second. If I can, without anybody getting their pennies in a bunch. Where is the damn enter button? Okay, there we go. Okay, we're going to see about routing 2.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
That doesn't tell me
right
much.
onto Northwest Oak Avenue.
There we go. Now you can tell me what to do. Ah, curb. Curb to curb.
Route, take the next right onto Northwest Cache Road. Prepare to keep left onto I-44 eastbound after 2.8 miles.
Actually, we're just going to run up north, so I don't have to go all the way back across Lawton on Cache Road. Okay. So anyway, where was I? I was talking about being political and all that, and talking politics in Starbucks drive-thru. I'm not one of those people who believes in punishing people for their political beliefs. You know, everybody in this country, whether we like it or not, has the freedom to choose what they want to embrace as far as politics, religion, opinions. Everybody is entitled to think for themselves. You know, we don't really have any business trying to force our viewpoints on anybody else. But I'm kind of a live and let live kind of person anyway, and a lot of people aren't. So a lot of people take it as their cause or their function or their rule in life that they have to enlighten people to the way of thinking or being. And man, that's just not my cup of tea. I can sit down and have a discussion with and have a cup of coffee with anybody. I don't care what their politics are or any of that, as long as they don't try and shove their opinion down my throat. It's pretty simple. Respect my right to have my own thoughts and I'll respect yours. You know, I'm not looking to pick a fight with anybody. And at this point in my life, I'm not interested in that anyway, you know. If somebody wants to think whatever they want to think, however misguided I may believe they are, or however loony it seems to me, that's their deal, you know. People can think what they want to think.
Turn right onto US 62.
People can think whatever they want to. I am not the thought police, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. I had somebody comment on the other channel about, I'm going to have to figure out how to turn off her yakety voice. I had a comment this morning on my other channel calling me a coward basically for saying I wasn't going to talk about politics on that channel. And that channel's not about that, you know. This channel has a little bit more of that because it's kind of like unfiltered thoughts and stream of consciousness, thinking, talking while I go along, that kind of thing. So it kind of, you know, that can kind of squeak into this a little more easily. But either way, it's not my job to try and convince anybody to think anything. You know what I mean? It's not my job. So no, I don't look at it as being cowardly to not talk about politics on a channel that's intended to be kind of a feel-good type of entertainment kind of setup. I don't have any problem with that at all. And I wonder at people who would say that, you know. Seems a little odd to me, a little weird. But I think mostly what that is somebody wanting to pick a fight and thinking that was the place and time to do it. I was just like, no, don't think so. I think I had some kind of a smarmy remark. Which wouldn't surprise me because I can be pretty smarmy when I want to. But we don't have to make every living, breathing moment about making people think the way we think. I just think that's really weird. I can't tell if there's something weird about this road because I'm hearing something that I don't really like. Sorry, I'm not trying to be boring, I'm listening. Listening and feeling. I'm just gonna stop real quick and look at my tire on that side, because I did kind of curb that rear tire a little bit. It wasn't like a hard curb, just a little. I just want to make sure I didn't do anything to it. Something doesn't feel right.
Turn left in half a mile.
Something feels a little hinky, a little weird. I'll do it up here on the ramp, I think. Probably be as good of a place as any to do it. Actually, I think it's okay. Getting out of that lane seems to have cured the problem, more or less.
In 1,000 feet, turn left.
I'm still going to stop and look at it, though.
Eastbound.
Just so I don't have to have it nagging in the back of my mind. I'm not feeling anything weird. Like with the Jeep, it feels like the surface of the road is weird. If you know what I mean. Oh, really?
In 100 feet, turn
Evidently,
left onto I-44 eastbound.
this GPS is not
Route
updated.
recalculation. Make a U-turn where possible.
It's lost. It is lost. I guess I won't stop on this ramp. Not a good spot. But I'm not feeling that anymore, so pretty sure it was the road. Pretty sure. All right. Yeah, it's fine. Some roads just have a weird feel to them. A weird kind of a ruddiness or a bumpiness. And that's what I was feeling up there on Rogers Lane, was a kind of a weird bumpiness. It's gone now, good. Yay. Man, some people just like to speed everywhere they go, and there goes one of them now. I'm running the speed limit. He's running way over the speed limit. I hate that I notice that stuff. I mean, it annoys me that it annoys me. Because it's not like I can give people tickets anymore. I just have to live with it. I have to live with bad driving. I can't do anything about it anymore. One of the most frustrating things about being a former cop so we've had some cop drama locally in the last week or so. I shouldn't even talk about it just because I don't know much about it, but evidently there's a local cop that's in trouble. And it's going to probably be a while before anybody really knows what's going on with it. So, one of those things I'm curious about, just, you know, out of more or less professional curiosity. Because what the guy is accused of doing, I can't imagine a cop doing. And I know there's got to be a lot more to this story that we may or may never know. But I made the mistake of actually reading about it on Facebook. And of course, you know, all the comments and everything people make. People these days are so anti-cop that anybody who does something immediately is pegged as you know, a terrible criminal and a brutal beast and all that, just from the get-go, before any facts or any circumstances come out whatsoever. Now, what this guy did, if he did what he's accused of doing, and he was actually arrested for it, and he's out on bond.
Prepare to exit the highway in 2 miles at exit 45.
If he actually did do what he's accused of, then all of that stuff does apply. But as far as I know, even for cops, you're considered innocent until you're proven guilty. And that's the whole basis of our legal system. But I don't know how this guy's going to get a fair trial. If this is the general attitude of the public these days, heaven help anybody who wants to have a fair trial in this place. Because the anti-cop rhetoric is loud, strong, and pretty wicked, you know. I mean, I get it. If he did what he's accused of, it's a pretty bad deal. But if it turns out that there's more to the story and it's not exactly what people are thinking, you know, maybe they should wait withhold their judgment until they hear the whole story. I'm just saying. But we don't do that anymore, do we? I mean, we take whatever's posted on Facebook or the internet or any news source, even though we know for a fact that a lot of news sources are questionable at best, we still almost take everything that is fed to us, spoon-fed.
Exit the highway at exit 45.
We take almost all of it as fact, you know, when we really don't know anything. And that's exactly what we know in this case. We basically know nothing. We know what he's accused of. That's all we know. We don't know circumstances of the incident, anything
Exit
like
the
that.
highway at exit 45.
But it's just another illustration on how radical. Oh, shut up. It's shocking to me how radical so-called mainstream thinking has gotten. You know, it's pretty bad, pretty bad. And I've got my own ideas about how we got to this place, which I won't bore you with. But this is where we're at. You know, this is the world we live in now. Ain't that fun? Not much it ain't. Just what I want to get behind. We'll just jump up ahead of him a little bit. Any crud flowing out of his truck to hit my windshield. Thank you very much. $5.74 for diesel there. That's insane. Freaking sane. That's pretty good coffee. That was kind of worth driving through Lawton traffic to get, I think. Even though it meant like a 5-mile detour to get it. I haven't been over here in a long time. That's some pretty spiffy driving you're doing there, buddy. Pretty spiffy. I never stop, I know. I never quit. You can take the cop out of the job, but you can't take the job out of the cop, I think. He hadn't used his turn signals once. Not once. Somebody's got them a project they're working on. Little lumber in the truck there. I've got a little project I'm going to be working on probably tomorrow or Wednesday. My security camera setup is starting to age out. The components are starting to fail. And one of my cameras quit, and I went to change the wire, and the wire was so brittle that it broke. I tried patching it, it didn't work. So I think the wire's just compromised. So I ordered new wires for all 4 cameras. And I've got a new camera also that came in last week because I thought, well, I need to change the camera. Well, maybe not, I don't know. I think it's just the cables are starting to deteriorate to the point that they're getting brittle. So I ordered the whole new set, so I need to pull all the old wires out through the hole in the wall and do all the stuff. All the stuff it's going to take to get them back in there. But while I'm at it, I've got coaxial cable pretty much wrapping the house in several directions. From the old days when all of our TV came in over the TV antenna or satellite dish that was hardwired with coaxial. And it's unsightly, it's all over the side of the house, it's ugly. So I think I'm going to get out there with the screw gun and take all that crap off the house and get rid of all the wiring that I don't use anymore, because everything I do now is through Bluetooth. I don't even have a hardwired TV connection anymore because it's kind of pointless to even try. It's just not one of those things I want to expend any more time on than I need to, because in the event of a bad storm, I've always got my cell phone so I can look at the radar, and that's the main thing. For the rest of it, I don't really care. I mean, it's not like I'm getting any local programming that's, captivating or anything. I spend my time watching YouTube and the weather, So I'm going to get rid of all that ugliness off the house. I know Bill hated that. He was so ticked off when the satellite guys stuck all that wiring up on the house like they did. I mean, they just made it ugly. Instead of going in through the attic, which was where he thought they should have run it, and I agree, they just ran it around the outside of the house and called it good, because they didn't want to go in the attic. I don't blame them. It's hot up there, but still, it looks like hell. So it's time to correct that once and for all. I'm still going to have my security camera wiring running around the outside of the house, but I can do it a little bit better where it doesn't look quite so bad, Right now it's a hot mess. Whatever a hot mess is, it's just a damn mess. A damn mess. Crossing Medicine Creek. But that's going to be my next project, and I may actually video that, because on my project channel, what I've been doing with that is, even though I had all of those videos up on this channel for quite a while, and I'm sure anybody here who is interested in watching those has probably already watched them, I took them all down and I'm putting them up one a day on my project channel, releasing them one at a time over there to basically get that channel started and get it off on the right foot. But eventually I'm going to run out of content. I think I've got maybe 12 or 13 more videos that I haven't posted up over there. So I need to start thinking about making new content for that too. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. I think that's going to be my next project video. Is going to be rewiring the cameras and cleaning up all the unsightly coaxial mess on the outside of the house. So here we are, getting into the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. hiking restriction, trails are closed. I can kind of see that as hot and dry as it's been. I can kind of see it. Free roaming bison, no alcohol, no swimming. Okay. I'm not going to get out and taunt any bison that I might see on the side of the road. I'm not stupid. I'm not planning to swim, and I'm not planning to start any campfires. So I think we're good here. Refuge guides, regulation, map. I pretty much know where I want to go, which is up on top of this little hill in front of us. That is Mount Scott, folks. That is the mountain in this part of the country that I guess actually is a qualifiable mountain. And it's pretty good little drive up there. Now for a Colorado girl like me, this ain't much. I mean, you know, let's be real. But to somebody who lives in the Great Plains and pretty much it's hilly, but it's not mountainous, this is kind of a big deal. So, yeah. And it has the feel of any other mountain road, really, you know. Just the trees and the rocks look a little different, but it's still got the steepness and it's got the tight curves. So what more can you ask for? I remember when Bill first moved up to Colorado with me, he hadn't been to Colorado, I don't think much, maybe once or twice, but he hadn't really seen much of it. And I, of course, had to take him over the $1 Million Highway, which is on a really severe pass, very steep, very rugged, very scary. And so I took him up that, and I'll admit I drove just a little closer to the edge than I normally would, just to give him the full experience. Yeah, it was kind of wicked of me to do that. But I admit I did. Kind of scared him. You know, I think when we got into Silverton, he finally relaxed a little bit. I'm trying to think. Red Mountain Pass, that's the name of the pass. And it's a booger. Red Mountain Pass is a booger. A lot of switchbacks. A narrow, scary road. And it was the time of year where there were still a few spots of iciness on the road. Nothing bad. I mean, it wasn't hazardous if you're paying attention to what you were doing so much, but it was enough to, you know, really make an impression on Bill. But, yeah, I think he kind of enjoyed it once we survived it. I think he thought it was kind of daring and fun. But he was raised down here where, I mean, this is the highest mountain he'd ever been up, unless you count, well, I guess you'd have to count some down by Broken Bow too, or Broken Arrow. Is it Broken Arrow or Broken Bow? Down in southeastern Oklahoma, it's one of the two. I think it's Broken Bow, because there are mountains there. The Wichita Mountains are over there. This is the Wichita Mountains. In the other corner of the state is the Wichita Mountains. And there are some pretty great places over there for scenery. If I had like a whole day to go on a trip and back, I would go over there and do the Tallahena Drive route and video that, because it's pretty impressive. That's some pretty impressive mountain country over there. It's very pretty, and you know, quite steep, quite beautiful. I really like that part of the country in the spring when the dogwood trees are blooming. I just think those are the greatest things. Those little white dogwood blossoms. You can see them peeking out of the tree line. You know, they're just real delicate and real pretty. I really like that area. I tried to get Bill to move over that way, but he didn't want to go that far. Of course, I kind of tried to talk him into moving to either Texas or Arkansas. But he was just an Okie through and through. He wanted to be in Oklahoma. He was interested in seeing other places, but this is where he was comfortable. So, you know, I was good with it. I was good with that. If I really wanted to, I could probably actually move to Arkansas. It would just put me even farther away from family than I already am. Which I guess it doesn't matter, because until I don't have all these critters to take care of, I'm not going to get to go visit them anyway. So I guess it wouldn't matter. So I've contemplated that. I kind of like the Mena area over there in Arkansas, up in the mountains. It's pretty, but it has its drawbacks too. I mean, it's more remote than this. It's farther from any kind of civilization than I am where I'm at now. And there's a big drawback over there. They got bears. You know? And that alone is probably enough to keep me from wanting to go over there to live, because I really don't want to deal with bears, you know. And that's another thing about Colorado now. When I was a kid in Colorado, you very rarely saw a bear track, and that's all I ever saw of a bear was the tracks. Even when I lived up in the mountains, we had a bear in the neighborhood one time, and I could see the tracks down by the trash can, but I never saw the bear. They were not as, they weren't as accustomed to humans, I don't think, and they kind of kept to themselves. But now, in Colorado, they've had several bear attacks because the bears are moving into town. They're finding out it's easy pickings, and they don't have a fear of humans anymore. So that's kind of a problem. I don't really want to live in a place where the bears feel like that and where they're just kind of running amok and doing what they want to do. Because bears are scary critters. I mean, you know, a bear is one of the few critters that's actually big enough and willing to catch a human being as prey and then eat it while it's still alive. And I just am not playing that game at all. They just, I mean, that's really the one thing in this world that actually scares me, if I think about it too hard. I try not to think about it too hard. There's not a lot that scares me anymore, which is kind of weird, because you would think, you know, I've seen a lot of stuff. You would think a lot of stuff would scare me, but no, that's the one thing that really bothers me, because there's no figuring which bear is which. Some bears, you know, they're not a threat. Some bears will just grab you and start snacking on you while you're flailing and trying to get away, you know? And you don't know which one is going to be which. So that's why I have an aversion to bears. But that's also why I'm even second thinking my desire to go back to Colorado, because with the situation up there politically, and with the attitude about conservation and wildlife and all that stuff has been radically changed over the last 50 years. People think very differently about that now than they did before. You know, they're reintroducing wolves, now they got bears. I mean, all these things that people had pretty much gotten rid of because they are incompatible with human existence, a peaceful human existence, pretty much, if you're living right there. Well, now they're bringing it all back, and they're doing it intentionally. You know, some places trying to bring in grizzly bears. It's like, are you freaking crazy? You want to bring grizzly bears into a populated area and turn them loose? Have you lost your ever-loving freaking minds? But yeah, some people are actually wanting to do that. It's just mind-boggling to me that these people, why? I don't get it. It's just baffling, to me that they would think this way. It's insane. It's insanity is what it is. It's complete and utter insanity. And I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. So I'm just going to pull over here and we'll just take in the view for a minute. I think I can just stop right here and maybe pan around a little bit. Pretty good view from up here. Pretty nice. Anyway, there you have it. I guess we'll go home now. As my dad used to say when we go look at something. Okay, seen it. Let's go. I never realized how much like my dad I really am. But I really, really am a lot like my dad. It's kind of funny. I just don't have patience for a lot of that stuff. I guess we take a look here because this is a different view. Pan around this a little bit. You can see more mountains out there. So this mountain range is actually really big. It's kind of strange because, I mean, it's not tall big, but it's stretched out over a lot of ground big, if you know what I mean. I've got to get my camera reset here. I'm out of whack somehow. Trying to get it recentered over the hood. This is probably a great place to be doing that. Going down a steep decline. Yeah, that's a great place to do that, Sue. Let's be playing with our cameras on this road. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I just figured out something about this Jeep that I didn't know before. I can switch it over to a manual gear and it will pull itself down a hill. That's interesting. I basically put it down in low is what I did. It doesn't say that. There's an M with a plus and a minus. Just want to keep an eye on my temperature and everything here because I don't want to ride the brake going down this hill because it is a very steep hill. I could burn out the brakes going down this if I rode them the whole way down. This is an interesting function. It's not smooth. It's like shifting and then downshifting and then shifting and then downshifting. But that's what you want it to do on a steep decline so you don't have to touch the brakes. You know what I mean? But it's interesting. Now, I wonder, I can put it in a little higher gear there. $20 miles an hour is plenty for this trip down. And it's holding at 20. I'm actually impressed by this. I'm very impressed by this. Because that's a really interesting feature. And it's actually working better than just dropping it into low or, second. Okay, that's pretty slow there. But it's slowing itself down in the steep areas, which is what it's supposed to do. Pretty awesome. I'm kind of impressed. I didn't know this Jeep would do this. I hadn't really thought about it because I very rarely anymore, unless I go to Colorado, I usually don't have a reason to worry about a steep incline or a steep decline, you know, and managing my speed going down a steep hill like this, a steep twisty road, is pretty awesome. On the less steep portions, it's running slower, but on the steeper portions, it's also maxing it out at about 20 and holding it at that, which is good. I can feel it, you know, doing its job. It's pretty awesome. I'm enjoying this. Man, I'll tell you, the longer I have this Jeep, the more I like it. And it's kind of embarrassing too, because I was kind of really prejudiced against new Jeeps because of the stuff that, you know, Bill had said about a lot of them. But I think he would really like this one because he had a lot of, you know, ideas about stuff, but he was also fair, and he would have approved of a lot of this. But yeah, I'm really, really glad I got this car. I mean, really glad. Really super glad. I'm so glad. I have not had to touch the brakes since I stuck it over in that low gear. Not at all. That's all engine doing the work like it's supposed to. I am impressed. That's pretty awesome. So this is, I should have occurred to me, because I think this is an 8-speed transmission, so it doesn't just have, you know, park, reverse, and drive and neutral. It's got lower gears to it, which makes sense because it's also full 4-wheel drive. So you need the lower gears for your 4-wheel drive, which I do not have it in 4-wheel drive right now. I don't need 4-wheel drive. I'm on pavement. But man, I'm impressed. This is just freaking awesome. This is really, really awesome. I'm not having to stress this at all. It's just taking care of itself. I could take it up another notch, but I think 20 is plenty for my maximum speed coming down this twisty bitch. Just to say it that way. Just because it sounded fun. Man, I am impressed. So impressed. This is pretty awesome. This is another example of me not having read the manual. I would know this stuff if I had read the damn manual, but have I ever in my life read an owner's manual for any vehicle I've ever bought? I've looked up stuff in them when I needed it, but I've never just sat and read it and gone through it. Because let's face it, that's pretty dry reading. And if you don't have a point of reference, a lot of the stuff that's in there doesn't mean squat to you anyway, if you're just reading through it cold. It's when something happens that you need to find the answer to that, you know, then you have a point of reference and you can make sense of it. That's just how I roll. Because I'm too lazy to read the whole manual. This is just, I'm impressed. I am impressed with this Jeep. Impressed. Quite impressed. I could try the next gear up. Okay, this one should hold me to about 25, I think, maybe. Yeah. Yep. Holding it 26. A little faster, 27. That's very interesting. I did not realize this had, for all intents and purposes, lots of low gears. Very interesting. Okay. I'm going to finally start applying a little brake here at the bottom, very bottom of the hill. I'm gonna push it back over into regular drive. Yay, hooray. Man, that's cool. That is cooler than anything. That is just awesome. Amazing. Sweet. Okay. Now, what do I want to do here? I don't really think I want to go clear back around through the whole park. I think doing Mount Scott was enough for this trip. I mean, that was the ultimate goal here, was to do the trip up Mount Scott. So what I'll do is I'll take a different route going back home. In fact, I may go back home through Sterling, which was a town, little bitty town that we used to live in when I was a kid for a while. And I very rarely go back through there just because it's kind of out of the way. It's not on any of my usual routes to or from like anything really that I need to get to. It's just not. But we'll take a run around that way. Just because I can. I can do whatever I damn well want to. Because I'm the boss of me. I am the boss of me. Man, I'm just so impressed with that. So impressed. That was freaking great. I didn't even expect to learn anything new today. Go figure. Let's see, how do I end this trip? I'm gonna just pull over right here for a minute and turn my GPS off. Because I don't need, where are my hazard lights? Where are my hazards? I don't know where my hazard lights are. That's an interesting thing. I don't know where the hazard lights are. How do I shut this off? Stop guidance. There we go. Yes. Okay. Alrighty then. Stick that back in there. Oh, it's 100 degrees out. Another 100 degree day. They said it was going to happen. I believed them. I did. Realign everything here. Okay, I think we're good. I still don't know where my hazard switch is. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm going to have to look that up. But I'm not going to do it sitting on the side of the road. I'm going to pull in near this parking lot to do it. Because you never know, I might actually need it. And it's better to know, need it, have it available if you need it, than to have to look it up in an emergency. So I'm going to just stop here and look. We can sit here and look at the lake. This is Lake Elmer Thomas, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Lake Elmer Thomas. And I want to find... I don't see an obvious switch for them as a thing. Usually it's on top of your steering wheel. But... hazards. Lights. Hazard warning flasher, 279. $279. Push the switch. Oh, there it is. Okay, they hid it from me because I wasn't paying attention. I see where it is now. It's right smack in the middle of the dashboard with the hazard symbol. Okay. Alrighty, now we know. This is why I haven't read this manual yet. It's almost as thick as the Bible. Just for comparison's sake. All right. And I don't need to stop and make use of their facilities. And I wouldn't anyway, being here by myself. Sometimes if you gotta pee, it's better to wait until you're in a populated place, you know. Little things you have to think about in this world these days. Or in an extremely deserted place where you can just, you know, pee right outside the car and then get right back in. I've done that once or twice. All over the place. That was one of those things I like. Crossing West Texas, I mean, you very rarely see another person when you're crossing West Texas. And I hauled a lot of trailers out through there, and West Texas has kind of a nice amenity for a person to be able to stop and pull over and just pee real quick on the side of the road, because they've got little picnic areas on the opposite side of the road from where you're driving. They've got them on both sides, but if you want to stop in one and you want to be able to use your vehicle as cover while you sneak in a quick pee, that's a crazy topic, isn't it? But, you know, hey, you know, when you're driving around all day, you got to pee. It's part of being a human being. But it's real easy to pull into those little picnic areas, get way over to the side of it by the weeds, and I'm a very practical girl. I would just use my running board for a little balance bench and pee right there real quick and then get back in the truck and go. And I would open both doors so I was pretty much not visible to anyone around. I wasn't trying to like disgust anybody or anything. I was just trying to pee, you know. But those particular little picnic stops were great for that, because I could pull in with my driver's side to the opposite side away from traffic. So I didn't have to turn around or anything. I could pull in there if I had trailers on, which is usually when I did that. And I could pull in and so be protected on three sides. And where these were located, there usually wasn't anything behind them but, you know, wilderness or whatever. So it just worked out really well. So yeah. Anyway, that's one of my I'm sorry, it's just cracking me up. The things you do, you know. I'm not gonna lie about it though, I did that all the time. I guess we could run down through Medicine Park. Let's try this. I think this will take us down into downtown Medicine Park, maybe on the north side of the creek. I think it's the north side of the creek. It's either the north or the west side of the creek, because the creek's right there, Medicine Creek. This is a nice, placid looking creek. They got it dammed up down here, so. This is an interesting little town. I think there's a bunch of artsy-fartsy people who live over here. It's kind of one of those quirky little touristy places. It's kind of cool. Cute place. And it's got its own flavor because of the building style, which you'll see. Oh, there's an elk. There's an elk right there. He's a big boy. He's a big boy. Look at that. That's cool. It's a big old boy. So here's what I was talking about, Medicine Park's building style. It's this little round rock type of construction. It's very picturesque. You know, kind of cool looking. Medicine Park. I haven't been in here in ages. Years and years. I think this might be a little roundabout. It's kind of hard to tell here. I'm not sure what they mean by this. But this Plantation Inn is it's been here forever. All this stuff is still current businesses. It's off season right now, I guess. I'm not sure what their season is here. I mean, it would stand to reason to me that it would be the summer, I guess, because of the creek and the, you know, rafting and all that stuff that goes on down here. Yeah, everything's all closed up pretty much. We'll just poke our way through here carefully. Here's some more old plantation stuff. It's very picturesque. Very, very picturesque. It's a cool place. Bill and I never really came in here and did anything. I don't know why. We never did. Go figure. Let's see. I think I'll go around this way. Litter bugs will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Well, my gosh, I hope so. Anybody who would throw down trash in a place that's this cute should be kicked anyway. Medicine Park Music Hall.